In this unknown carbonate sample, it will be reacted with hydrochloric acid in 3 different trials. In each trial, you will determine the mass of carbon dioxide, the mass of carbonate, and the percent carbonate. In the end, you will take the average of these 3 trials to determine what is your average percent carbonate, and then compare that to a set of standards to identify what compound the unknown is. For the first trial, the mass of the empty vial, beaker, and pipette filled with acid are displayed. As with the baking soda and baking powder samples, a small amount of carbonate sample is added to the vial. This particular sample does not flow as well from the measuring spoon, and a piece of weighing paper will be used to deliver the sample to the vial. After which, the combined mass can be determined. The mass of the vial, beaker, acid, and carbonate sample is displayed. This is the mass before the reaction. As with the other samples, the acid is added slowly. This is to prevent any liquid from coming out of the container. When the reaction is completed, the combined mass can be recorded. The combined mass after the reaction is now displayed. The slight yellow of the sample is an indication that this particular sample has a slight contamination with iron. For the second trial, the combined mass of the empty vial, beaker, and acid is currently displayed. As with the first trial, a small amount of the carbonate sample is added to the vial via a piece of weighing paper. The mass before the reaction can then be obtained. This is the mass of vial, beaker, acid, and sample before the reaction. The carbonate sample is again reacted slowly with the hydrochloric acid. After which, the total mass can be recorded. The mass after the reaction for trial number 2 is now displayed. For the last trial, the mass of the vial, beaker, and acid is currently displayed. As with the previous trials, a small amount of the carbonate sample is added to the vial. the mass of which can then be determined. The mass before the reaction for trial number 3 is now displayed. The carbonate sample is then reacted slowly with the acid to release the carbon dioxide. When the reaction is completed, the final mass reading can be obtained. The final mass reading after the reaction for trial number 3 is now displayed. With each trial now being completed, you can determine the mass of carbon dioxide lost for each trial, the mass of carbonate, and therefore the percentage of carbonate for each trial. After taking the average, you can determine the average percent carbonate and compare that to known samples, thereby identifying what this carbonate sample is.